So I know that the lighting looks completely different to the way that it normally does, but before we get into that, I just want to say thank you, because we've finally hit 10,000 subscribers, and I don't know how it's happened this quickly. I've only been making content for what I think maybe a year and a half, not even that, and we've already managed to pass this goal. I don't know how it's happened so quickly, but I just want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you to a couple of people as well. I want to say thank you to Luke Smith, because without him, I wouldn't have got my initial momentum. If you haven't seen the video, back in like January or December or something like that, he did a video where he shouted out my channel, and that started my initial momentum. I also want to say thank you to DistroTube, because every time that I had some sort of worry about, I guess, how a video was performing, he'd just show up in the comment section to give me words of encouragement. And he doesn't just do this with me, he does this with a bunch of really small Linux channels, and honestly, it's really awesome to have someone that cares that much about the community. I also want to say thank you to all of the friends I've made along the way, people like Brian Jenks, Donald Fury, and all of the awesome people over at the Discord, because without those people, I don't think I would have gotten through some of the days where I just didn't feel like recording. And I want to say thank you to all of you guys, because obviously, without you, there is no way that I would have made it to 10k. Now that we've got all that sappy stuff out of the way, let's talk about what's going on with the lighting. So I've made some, let's say, adjustments. Previously, what I was doing was I had a light off to this side, which is, I guess, your right, and a light off to this side, and it created like a very natural looking light, but I don't think it was the best look I could really get out of this camera. So what I've done now is basically I've got one of the lights sitting in front of me acting as a key light. So a key light is basically just your face light. And I've got another light back here, which is lighting up my hair, which is sort of giving me this glow on the side of my head. And the reason why you do that glow is so you can sort of stand out from the background. Another thing is I was getting really sick of seeing these white walls in every single video. So, let's see if we can move there. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. I've got a lamp back there, and that lamp is now lighting up my back wall, and that has the same RGB globe I showed off in the roof a few months or so back. So I can go and change that color basically to any color I want it to be. And what I've been doing with the videos I recorded earlier in this week is I've basically been matching the color to the content of the video. So expect to see some weird lighting changes like that. I don't know if I'm going to stick with it, but I think that it is an improvement over what I had before, especially what's going on right now, because you can see a bit more depth to my face, but it does start to show some of the limitations of the Logitech C920. So that's the webcam that I've been using this entire time, and you might notice it's probably fine on my face, but if you look at the background, it's noticeably grainy. Now, if I, put it into the little webcam mode you see like this. This is just fine. You don't really notice any problems. So if I was, say, streaming or something like that, or just recording like I normally do, it's not really that big of a deal. But when you have the full face cam, you can start to notice a lot of the quality degradation. So what I'm thinking is I'm finally going to bite the bullet and buy myself a mirrorless camera. But it is expensive. I'm not asking for money or anything like that, but it is expensive, so I just need to accept the purchase and actually decide on which camera I'm going to buy. So I'm thinking about getting the Canon M200, which is about $750 Australian, so yeah, it's an expensive purchase. But if I don't get that one, I know that DT runs, I think, a Lumix G7 or G15, so maybe I'll get that camera, or maybe I'll go with the Sony A5100 or A6100. I'm not going to talk too much about cameras in this video. If you want to hear some camera talk, come over to the podcast, and when I do a solo episode, basically it turns into camera talk. So I'm thinking about getting one of those cameras, I'm just not sure on which one to get right now. And another upgrade I want to make is on my audio. So up until this point, I've been using a Blue Yeti, and the Blue Yeti, it's not a terrible microphone. Once you've tweaked it in OBS with various filters on it, it's a perfectly decent sounding microphone. There's a reason why this mic is very popular. But I think I'm finally getting to the point where I could properly make use of an XLR microphone, so I think it's finally time to actually bite the bullet and make the upgrade. So because I'm going to go with an XLR microphone, I need some sort of audio interface or some sort of mixer board, and I'm thinking about going with a Yamaha MG10XU, which is a very, very popular mixer board, and the reason why I'm going with that over a straight audio interface is because I want hardware EQ, because inside of OBS, it supports VST plugins, but none of the VST EQ plugins are compiled for Linux, and they are all closed source, which kinda sucks. So, hardware EQ it is. And also with this mixer board, it comes with hardware compression, which wasn't really something I was desperately needing because I can do that inside of OBS, but it is nice to see. And it also comes with a built-in effects knob. Now, the effects I'm not going to be using for regular videos, but they might be fun to have there for the podcast or for streaming or things like that. So it's just a nice addition to have. And for the microphone, I'm thinking about going with an Audio-Technica AT2035, but I don't really know what I'm going to pick at this point. That's just what's at the top of the list. It might change before I actually make the purchase. Now, I know that a lot of streamers buy a Go XLR as their mixer board, but the problem with the Go XLR is if you don't have the software for it, it's a brick that doesn't do anything besides basically gain. And the software isn't available on Linux, so making that purchase would be a really terrible idea. Now, moving on from the upgrades, I want to talk about some changes to the content on the channel. So, I'm not going to stop doing any of the regular core content, so the Vim plugin reviews, the software showcases, the news topics, things like that. Obviously, I'm going to keep trying to iron out the rough edges, but that content is going to keep coming out like it's always been doing. But I also want to start doing some more long-running series. So one thing you might have noticed is on my channel, I have a new playlist called Unix History. Feel free to suggest a new name because I'm terrible at naming stuff, as you can probably tell from my channel name. So right now, basically it contains the XDG video, the POSIX compliance video, and the Unix philosophy video. And you guys seem to like these sorts of videos, so I thought it'd be a good idea to start doing more of them. Now, I don't know how often they're going to be, maybe once a fortnight, maybe once a week. I'm not really sure. It sort of depends on how many ideas I actually have and how often I actually feel like making them. But I also want to do videos like, how did Linux come into existence? Why was GNU created? And talking about C in a Unix context. So basically, it's going to be computing history from a Unix slant, which I feel like is going to be an interesting topic to explore. And also I found out that running Wayland is actually very, very easy. If I want to run, say, Sway, I just install the Sway package and it works. There's no extra setup I have to do. It just works. So I'm probably going to start doing some Wayland content soon. Now, most of my system is still heavily reliant on X, so expect to see some X content still coming out, but I want to try out something new and see what it's actually like. Maybe I'll actually really like Wayland. First up, I'm going to try out Sway, but I know there's things like River that exist, or DWL. River is sort of like BSPWM, and then DWL is a Wayland port of DWM. So, hey, maybe one of those will be fine. But, as I said, I'm not leaving BSPWM permanently. Basically just trying out new things. And speaking of trying out new things, in about 4 weeks or so when I'm done with uni, I want to start streaming. Now, I'm going to start then because I'm kind of busy right now and I don't really have a ton of time with all of my assignments being due, but after that's done, I'll have plenty of free time. I don't know how many streams I'll do. It might be 1 a week, it might be 3 a week, it might be once a fortnight. I have no idea. I'll work it out when I get to that point. But one thing I do want to start doing is on this channel, I want to start doing some Q&A content as well as some other sort of streams, but I definitely do want to start doing Q&A content because I get a lot of the same sort of questions in my comments, so I thought, why don't I just address them in one place? And obviously, I will be collecting questions closer to the actual time the streams are happening, but because it's a stream, if you have anything you want to ask then and there, feel free to drop it in the comment section. So, the other thing that I want to do is start up a third channel. So I've got this channel where I do just the Linux stuff. I've got my second channel, which is my podcast channel. And the third channel is probably going to be a gaming channel and other streams that don't fit into the content of this channel. Plus, it also allows me to swear because I don't swear on this channel because I like money. That's basically it. But on a third channel, hey, doesn't really matter what I do there. And when I actually do stream, expect me to do it properly. I'm not just going to be, turning on the stream, playing a game, and not really doing anything, because I don't just want to be what 99% of Twitch is and making absolutely garbage content. I want to do this properly, make it a show so that people actually want to tune into it and actually enjoy what I'm making. So expect to see some sort of structure. I don't know how much structure it's going to be. It won't be as much as this channel, but there will be something there. You'll know, okay, this is what's going to happen in today's show. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say today. Now, I know this wasn't a super exciting 10K video, but I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about some of the things that I've been doing behind the scenes to just try and make the best sort of content that I can for you guys, because yeah, I could just pump videos out and not really care about the quality of them, but if I'm going to be making videos, I'm going to try and make the best videos that I can make. And to do that, I think it's finally time to actually make some purchases to actually improve the quality of the videos outside of just my presenting style. So, hey, if you guys want to help out with that, I've got my Patreon, my subscribe style, my LibrePay down below, and all of that sort of stuff. So, before I go, I want to thank my supporters. So, a special thank you to Joachim, Corbinion, Andrew, Craig, Nathan, Monster, Chuka Bento, Joseph, Peter D. Road, Tony, Brennan, Donald, John, Marek, Mikkel, Nate Dog, Nephite, Poe, Tease, and Zilva. I've also got my podcast. That's the second channel I mentioned. That is called Tech Over Tea, available basically anywhere. And this channel is available on Library and Odyssey and BitChute if you want to watch on a platform that isn't YouTube. I actually I think I'm like 20 away from 15K over on Library, which is awesome, but it's kind of a very small amount of views because the way that subscribers worked early on in Library sort of led people to have massive subscriber counts, even though they didn't really have that many active viewers. Regardless, it's still awesome to see that happening, and I'm really happy to see Library growing. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.